Hey, what's up, guys? Today we're going to be reviewing a Roblox movie called The Oder, which is about creatures called odors, aka online daters, taking over Roblox, and it was a pretty good movie compared to the other ones we've watched on this channel. And the main characters are Z, Pan, and Chad. The channel that made The Oder is called Zero Fix, and let's go on to the next room where I'll be reviewing the movie. In the first scene, we see Z and Pan hanging around the school. Then they go inside where they are announced to go to the auditorium. The principal starts talking, and we see a girl called Jenna behind him, just staring at him. And after class, Z and Pan start talking about the girl Jenna, and no one knows why she got banned. Then they go to the science class where Jad makes a potion, so he just starts flying a little bit. And the teacher just doesn't care, apparently, and just starts class without even noticing that he just started flying for no random reason. We see Jenna outside staring at Z and whispering. And Jenna just starts whispering some things, I guess, because it's supposed to be a scary Roblox movie, but it's not. Let's get it straight. It's not scary at all. It's pretending to be scary, and then you're like, oh wow. Then Chad makes an explosion and they get out of class. Z starts talking to Pan about how Jenna was just looking at him creepily, and Pan only thinks that Jenna likes Z and not being creepy, just staring out the window, just looking at him. Then at lunchtime, Chad and Z are talking about her, and boom, Jenna pops up right behind him, and Z just starts running away. Later, we see Chad and Pan are talking about how Z is acting, and then Chad leaves, and Z comes into the scene, says, hey, yeah, I was overreacting a bit. And then she's happy. He's like, frick, I left something in the locker. So he goes all the way back to his locker, and while Z is in his locker, Jenna pops up behind him, and he just starts booking it out of there. Z goes to sleep, and in his dream, he is sitting in a chair, and Jenna comes behind. Then he wakes up, and we see Jenna outside looking at him through a window. Then in the morning, Pan knocks on the door, and Z talks about what happened last night, and Pan's arguing like, hey, then maybe it's just a dream. And then Pan asks if he wants to join on camping, which he denies, and they argue a little more, then she leaves. Later, at the camping trip, we see them dancing around a campfire, and CZ actually went to the campfire, which is surprising, which Pan is happy about. And later, after a little talking with Pam, he goes to bed and he gets waken up by a twig snap, walks outside, and is getting chased by Jenna. We transition to Jenna running around and Z behind a tree. Afterwards, we go back to the high school where we see Pan, Z, and Jenna, and Z and Jenna are next to each other. Then they walk up, and Pan says,
Um, are you guys together now?
No. Yes.
Wow.
Can I just talk to my friend for now? It'll be quick.
Z then tells Pan to meet at the Pier Lab later, and that's what they do. Z says that Jenna has been following him everywhere and even moved to a different server and she's still there. Then they go over to the computer and check out Jenna's account. They check out news on RoadTube, which we see a player quit, and Jenna in the background, which is scary. Ooh, which afterwards Jenna walks in and Z says it won't be much longer, and she leaves, which they are both terrified of her because she has a scary presence. Then they start to think about playing the trapper and plan on meeting up in the swimming pool later that day. We transition to see Z at the pool with Pan, just walking in. They both wait for a little bit, then they see her in the water. And then Jenna chases them all the way to the top of the school where she transforms into a bigger, scarier being and starts running all the way into the science room where Chad makes Jenna start flying and Z starts reading out the guidelines for Roblox. Run around a little more and then she disappears, which then they celebrate, and then Z disappears. And then a week later he comes back with another account since the other one got banned for online dating. Then after playing volleyball for a little bit, they realize, wait, Jenna can also probably make another account. Then we see Z, Pan, and Chad getting chased by some odors, which they hide behind a building, and somehow the odors just do not see them, so they make a plan. And Chad makes a bunch of plans that he just wants to sacrifice himself, but they are not going to try to sacrifice him because they're his friend. And they decide on going to the helicopter that Z owns, since he owns a helicopter. Which I would have to say, did he buy another helicopter since his other account got banned? Which is stupid if he did. And anyways, back to the story. We see them getting chased by an odor. We see someone named Annabeth is broadcasting announcements about the odor outbreak and asking people about the odors. Then afterwards, it goes for a break, and then we go back to Pan and Z, where we realize that Chad sacrificed himself and they are in a new town. Z decides to buy a new car so they get around in that big city. Then they go to the new school where they meet an old lady where she says no underground parking is allowed. Then they go inside school and see another person just standing there.
He's just standing there, menacingly!
Just like an odor. I wonder what it is. An odor! What a surprise. They want to apply as new students there. The person doesn't say a word, and somehow they got their schedules. So they go to different classes, and whenever they get out of class, they both realize that something's really off about these people, and they start talking about how their classes went. Then we see Annabeth looking at them, and afterwards we see them walking outside the school, and then we transition to a dream, the old school, where Pan is walking down the hall and sees a person in the corner sitting there. And then she wakes up and we see her back at her house where she goes and gets a drink from the kitchen. We see a figure outside looking at Pan, and then one of the odors behind her walk up right next to her, but Pan turns around and then goes to call Z and meet up at the cafe and talk about how the people are basically like odors, and Pan thinks that they are evolving, which Z denies. The odors are interested in Z. What she says, ew, and heard that at a radio station said something about the odors and wants to try and get information from her, and decides to skip first period to go and find out the radio station, which is lucky to find after all they're in a big town. They go up to the radio tower, knock, then decides to just break and enter for no reason. Just want to say something real quick. If you look in the background, you can actually see that there is a bunch of odors, which I thought was pretty cool. Okay, back to the story. They climbed up the ladder, wait for Annabeth to finish up, and decide to talk to her, which she already knows their names, and says she was watching, and Pan wants to know the truth, which Annabeth says they cannot handle the truth, and Z says he can, which Annabeth says that they are getting smarter every day, and she reveals why she knows so much, which that's because she lost her brother because he quit Roblox, and they're sad like, aw dang, and then Z asks for more information, which she shows them, and she has an odor trapped in the cell, and then at first Z and Pan think it's a normal person, but Annabeth explains that they can change their appearance and make Z walk up to the glass, and the odor asks Z to be her boyfriend, which she says the odor outbreak is happening soon and hopes that they do not turn into one. Then we go back to the high school where Pan and Z are walking and start questioning what she said. Then they see Chad acting very odor-like, and he wants them to follow him into a sewer, which they stupidly do because they knew their friend got sacrificed, and I don't know why they are going into a sewer where they obviously know that's an odor, not Chad, but they do it anyways. Okay, they follow him into the sewer, which we see an odor falling right behind and locking them in the sewer. Then they realize, hey, maybe that isn't Chad. Then they run around, see an odor, start booking it more, then go to a gate and close it. Then they realize there is a bunch of odors sleeping, which they run out and decide to deal with that one odor. And they decide to run out and go on a hill. They jump off, and then they see another odor, which they start swimming in the dirty sewer water and get away from it and run from the other odor and make it back to the original sewer line and run all the way back to school with a great chasing scene. And then they go inside a janitor closet and see a bunch of odor coming out and start looking around the school. One does not check inside the closet, but just intensely looks at it. And then behind them, there's another one looking at them, and then they start evolving again, and and they decide to go to the radio station and knock on the door, and Annabeth sees a bunch of odors running towards them, and they get inside, lock the door. Annabeth just thinks it's it and just wants to end it all, which Pan and Z disagree with. Z wants to try to get rid of them by reciting the community guidelines again, and Z decides to use the broadcasting system to recite them.
Roblox tries to provide a safe place to meet online friends, play, chat, and collaborate on creative projects. However, this is not the place to look for dating partners. The power of Roblox compels you. The power of Roblox compels you. The power of Roblox compels you.
Then they celebrate, and later at the school, we get the real Chad, not a brainwashed one. Then we get a random position to where we see Pan getting kidnapped and brainwashed, then see a odor looking man with a crown, and they try to get rid of him, but it does not work. And Annabeth gets taken over, so Chad and Z go to another server, where we see Z laying at a tree, and Chad comes out and tells them that they are at Bloxburg while eating a sandwich. Then they talk for a second, and a scientist rolls up in a car and tells them to come with him. And they try to ignore him, but the scientist is really trying to get him in the car because he knows the odors are watching them. And they randomly trust him since he knows about the odors. They go to his place where there's a science lab and start talking about the crown that can control all the odors in Roblox, and says that was stolen. He made another, and that one got stolen as well. And he starts talking that it is the end of the world and that the Oder King is making an army of them and spraying them across Roblox, and tells them to go to Joe in Royale High because he might have something to stop them. Then we see a bunch of odors around the house, and a car rams into the house, and boom, we are in Royale High. They walk inside, and Chad talks about Joe, and a girl named Katie starts talking to Chad. Then Z interrupts and says, hey, we cannot trust anyone here. And Katie then brings them to Joe's room, knocks on the door, and realizes that he is not there, and starts searching somewhere else, like bakery, swimming pool, and spa, but cannot find him. Chad then go use the restroom and sees a scary lady behind him, and then they see that Pan is also here. Then they go inside their dorm, and we see Joe come in, and Joe says that he recorded the outbreak, and he is also a survivor. Then we watch the footage of the outbreak, and it's just him breathing for like 30 seconds. It's horrible. Nothing happens really. We see an odor, and then they start running out of school. Then Z says that he needs help since Pam is the odor queen, and Joe gives him a necklace that might be able to reverse everything. Then they start talking about the odors and how they are basically acting like regular people now. Then Joe goes back to hiding, and later that night, Katie knocks on the door saying something bad happened to Joe, and they follow her behind the waterfall, and they realize that this was a trap. And Chad says that this is a ritual since he was brainwashed before, and says they need to go, and they just do not leave for a little bit because Z is really stupid. Then they see a scary girl pop up behind them, and they're like, we should probably go. So we see all the other odors start flying, and then they're like, let's fly. So they decide to fly away and decide to split up. Chad walks to a locker, and Z goes to the shower. We get a scene of just the odors looking for them. Then we see Chad get caught, and Z gets caught. Then we are brought to a house. They are confused about where they are, and they realize that they are at Robloxian High School. Then we see Pan walk in, telling them that they are in a game of hide and seek. If the seeker catches them, they get turned into odors, and if they win, they turn into odors. So it's like, it's a lose-lose scenario, and obviously the odors are better than humans in this scenario. Chaz asks if Pan remembers him, and she says no. Then they try to get to another server, but it doesn't work. They wait for the horn to go off so they can hide for 2 minutes. The siren goes off, we see Joe, then they go hide under the docks. Then we get a montage of seeing a bunch of people getting caught, including Joe. Then the seeker is looking near the dock. Mary gets consumed by an odor, just a random character. Then the odor starts surveying the area. Then we see Z and Chad hide under a rock. Then they move to where the odor is getting closer. Then it just goes away, and we return back to the morning where it is very quiet. And Z goes and checks out the area, gets very close to getting caught, and I don't know how the seeker just did not notice him, but he has plot armor, so I guess that's how that works. Then he runs to the market, comes back, Z says to Chad that Pan is on the clock tower and wants to get the crown off of Pan, and also got some jetpacks at the store. Then we see an Oder chasing him, they just jetpack away. Z's jetpack starts leaking, he goes down. Then Chad tries to carry him, but it just does not work, and Chad gives Z the jetpack and sacrifices himself. Z then goes to the clock tower while Chad dies. He knocks the crown off of Pan, and Pan does not remember anything at all. She questions where Chad is, and he said that he sacrificed himself. And they start to think of a plan to take the Oder King down, and explains what the necklace does. Later, we see the Oder King and Z standing on the clock tower.
I broke it. Threw it off. Shattered.
Is your plan to break mine?
Without your crown, you won't be able to control the odors anymore. I won't let you launch the attack.
Really? Okay then. Launch the attack.
Wait!
Then we see a bunch of servers being attacked by the Oder. The Oder King says, "How easy was that?" and explains that he is the most evolved species of Oder out there. Then Z puts on his jetpack and tries to ram into him, but it does not work. He just gets put to the ground. The Oder King slowly starts turning Z into an Oder and starts speaking about how the Oder apocalypse is coming and everything that his friends did were for nothing. Then Pan throws the necklace on the king, and Z goes back to normal and pushes the king off the clock tower. All the odors disappear. Then they go and check on the king, which is a smaller character with a chipmunk voice, and goes to jail. Then we see Z and Pan at the school, where they are talking about what happened yesterday, and it's sad that all the friends that got sacrificed, but thankful that they got to live peacefully, thanks to them. And they get inside the school, and a bunch of people are clapping because he saved them. The only reason they're clapping there is because Pan told them what happened and who saved them. Two people come up to him and thank him. Z goes on a speech about his friends were the ones to do the most of the work and helped him out. Then they go to class and Pan says, "Yeah, it's finally over." And that is it for the movie. Okay, come on into the next room. The movie was pretty good. The Oder, nice. I liked it. I'd give it a high A, if anything. I like the points where it recognizes like Roblox and it didn't take itself too seriously, but it's not S because it's counted as a horror and didn't make me scared at all. So that's the reason. But otherwise, it's pretty good. Come on, follow me into my next room. Thank you guys for watching the video. If you like this type of content, make sure to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys later. Peace.